Dragged Across Concrete and the Process Trilogy, coming up next on the Blog Rundown. And we're going to kick off the show, John, with a movie review by Justin Hayward. It's Dragged Across Concrete from 2018, John, but it actually didn't come out here till a few weeks ago.
It didn't, no, Stephen. We both reacted to the trailer for this film, incidentally.
Yeah.
We both found it intriguing.
Yep.
I recall watching, I don't know if it was Collider or somebody else, discussing the merits of this film and just the intrigue that had been coming out of early screeners, people who had seen it. And I think the general gist and consensus of this film was that it was very dialogue heavy. I think 80% of it, they were saying, was going to take place in the car, with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn's characters being the primary focus. And Stephen, I have went to see the film. I went to see it with you.
Yes.
We've both seen it, and I think I can now say with a degree of authority, alongside obviously Justin, that this film is very slow burn. It is very dialogue centric, and it does primarily focus on the antics of Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson's character.
Am I going to move on to the next review now? No,
but like actually, Stephen, I mean, I'm mixed with this one. I've got a mixed sort of a view on this film. I do like a slow burn film when it's handled correctly. The likes of Hereditary was a slow burn film handled correctly, if I can say it, not correctly. It started off very slow burn, focusing in on the grief of the characters. It developed the characters out with the sort of a foreboding looking presence of maybe a paranormal side thing going on with a young daughter when she also gets killed accidentally with her brother in that car ride with that pole. And then it all goes to absolute hell in the final 25 minutes or so, the final 30 minutes. That's a slow burn film.
Endgame.
Handled very well. Endgame, first, third perhaps, three-quarter, no, I wouldn't say three-quarters, half of the film. Very slow burn. Then it develops the story out, it tells you the setting, that shows you what's been happening in the world, and then it introduces into the main plot and it expands the story out, and all hell actually breaks loose. This, Stephen, I mean, I think it's in between, perhaps, an Endgame and a Hereditary, not in the scale of Endgame. I'm not saying it's in even the same level as Endgame, because it's nowhere near, of course, but in the sense that it's not quite as long in the slow burn as Hereditary, and it's not quite as bombastic, the ending, as Endgame.
I was going to say that, John. For one thing, I thought the pace in the film was very consistent in this movie. Character development as well was very important.
It was.
A very violent film at that as well. I thought the chemistry between Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince
Vaughn,
forgot
his name. I was about to say Vince Vega there.
Who was he again, Vince Vega? He was Pulp Fiction,
I thought the chemistry between the two of them, Vince Vaughn as the young cop, kind of made me laugh a little bit, because he's certainly not young, but
I still don't know how old
Gibson, he probably is. But a whole host of stars in it as well, John. When you look at the likes of Michael J. White, Laurie Holden, just to name a few, Don Johnson making an appearance as well. I thought the first hour of the film was very slow. And what kept me going was I was thinking it's all going to kick off in the second half of this movie. For me, it didn't really. It was interesting. I'm not saying it wasn't a good film. I'm just saying it just didn't live up to the expectations. I thought we were building on something. I thought it was going to go somewhere. It did obviously go somewhere, but there was just the pacing of it just stayed consistent, as I said. Yeah,
it certainly did, Stephen. As I did say, it wasn't as long a slow burn sort of a experience as Hereditary, which was essentially 3/4 of the film. It did slow burn, as you did say, for a good hour and a bit, which was just over half the film, just under half the film. So it was a very, how shall I put it? I don't want to say tedious, but it was a hard-going experience that first hour or so. But what I will say for, I think it's Craig Zala, Craig Zala. He's a fantastic director. I can't say his name, but I have really enjoyed him.
I can't say the name of the film.
Dragged Over Concrete. It is a tongue twister, slightly. But I've really enjoyed his films in the likes of Bone Tomahawk, Stephen. Again, that was a similar experience. It was quite slow burn for a large part of the film. It was bursts of action at the start with these troglodyte characters coming and stealing some people away from this sort of a frontier of the Western, Old West, and then they have to go away and find a hideout, their cave system, and try and retrieve their lost relatives. But again, that was very slow burn for a good chunk of that film. But what saved that film was the interesting characters, the performances of Kurt Russell and a few other people. I can't recall who the guy was that had the white suit, but he was absolutely incredible. So again, very dialogue heavy, centering on a small cast and getting off on this sort of the journey mission. And it's the same here, Stephen. Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. One thing I will say for the film, if they didn't get the performances right, the two actors, the leading actors correct, then this could have been an unmitigated disaster. For me, it wasn't an unmitigated disaster. I actually enjoyed the story in the main. It was slow burn, but as I did say, I like a slow burn film if it goes somewhere. And it certainly does in the final act. I don't really want to spoil it because certainly Justin didn't spoil it in his review. Just what I will say is that the villainous character, I believe it was played by Tory Kittles, Henry Johns, he is an incredibly violent guy. He just doesn't give a shit. He's going around spraying bullets. Literally, at one point into someone's head, I think it's Jennifer Carpenter, Kelly Summer, sets her up briefly in the film. She's got this young family. I says I wouldn't spoil it, but I have to with this. Sets her up. She's got this young baby, newborn baby. She has a sort of an embracing moment with her and the baby and her husband. Then she goes off to work at the bank, and there's a heist with Tory Kittles' character and I believe Michael J. White's Biscuit character, and she just gets shot in the head. She kind of goes for the sympathy card, and they don't care, they just splattered her head. So I
think that was more...
Justin says that's very ominous and foreboding. For me, actually, it was the lead up, but when they just shot her in the head...
I think the purpose of that whole sequence, though, was to show the sort of coldness of those characters rather than focusing it on that character.
But then they redeem them, Stephen, at the end in a way, because you have that moment where obviously Henry Johns is having these sort of a back and forth with Mel Gibson's character Brett Richmond. So he flips sort of your the expectations, or not your expectations, what your opinions are of these characters at the end of the film. And I really did, I get sidetracked off on a tangent, but I really enjoyed the performances of Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. It focused on them for a long part of the film, but I felt it did quite a decent job in those slow burn stages of fleshing the characters out, what their motives were, their personal side. Obviously he's trying to propose to his wife or his fiancée. Mel Gibson's trying to take his family out of this very poor sort of a ghetto neighbourhood. His young daughter's been abused time and again. And then on the flip of that, you've got the two villainous characters, and they've got a story to tell as well with a young son. And his mother's obviously kind of like a hooker figure. She's getting sleeping about with men, and he's locking himself in the bedroom. So you've got the stories, and you can understand the motives of the antagonist character and whatnot. So, Stephen, I really enjoyed the final part of the film. I can't sit here and say that the first hour was the most amazing experience. It was a bit of a drag.
Yeah, it was a lot of work getting there, John. That's what I was going to say. But Justin actually makes a point as well. This is something that I picked up in my experience watching this movie, was in regards to the dialogue, John. He does say in his review that some of the dialogue does come across as clunky and self-aware. I don't agree with that, because there was sometimes I felt the Mel Gibson character was going out his way to really shock the audience with some of these racial slurs.
He does say that, abrasive.
Yeah, times, and sometimes you can tell when it's forced. You know, you just watch a movie, you can tell when it's deliberate.
But was it forced on Mel's part? Because we do know he likes a good racist comment.
I'm not saying anything. But
there's no Jewish people in this film, don't worry.
The other thing as well, there was I felt, you know how Tarantino he's very good at
said this,
scripting and making the most mundane things sound interesting. I think they tried to attempt that here. There was a bit about breakfast that went on. The conversation went on for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was Vince Vaughn was eating his breakfast for a good 5 minutes, or a half an hour, I think, three quarters of an hour, I think Mel Gibson's character, Richmond, says. And he's like, I think a red ant or a small ant could eat it quicker. And they go off on a tangent about it. And
there was a bit where they had to take their breakfast away as well.
Yeah, that's right, in the diner.
Yeah, and I just felt trying too hard to, be that clever.
They definitely did,
But overall, John, I felt the sort of final moments of the film kind of paid off. There was a payoff in the film, to be fair.
Yeah, and Stephen, the final thing I would say is S. Craig Zahler. This is a guy who does know how to do the slow burn and the incredibly violent moments as well, with interesting characters. There's certainly characters that intrigue you enough to keep you watching through some painfully tedious moments in certain films when it dips a little bit. We've seen it in Brawl and Cell Block 99 with Vince Vaughn again. They've connected again here. We've seen it with Bone Tomahawk, some incredibly visceral, violent scenes in that film. And we've got it again here in Dragged Across Concrete. We've got the slow burn, dialogue heavy sequences with some intriguing characters. It develops them just enough to get your intrigue up. but then there's splatterings of really violent moments in there. So all in all, I enjoyed the final part, not so much the first part.
And Treacle Time.
And I agree enough with Justin in his review, which was decent, by the way.
It was a very good review, John. Talking about very good reviews, we've got a very unique one coming up now. This is from Gianni De Maia. Gianni's actually took this project on. Just to give you a sort of background on how this film appeared on the blog. The production company Tuboy approached us a few months back and asked if any of the writers would be interested in reviewing an experimental film and filmmaking as well. To Gianni's credit, he stepped up and said he would take this task on. A few months went past. I remember catching up with him on Messenger and asked Gianni how he was getting on with that project. It kind of went out of my head because it was a few months, as I said. He explained to me what the process was and what he had to really do to showing me the football scores there.
And I can't believe it, Stephen. Jesus Christ, I can't believe it.
The actual process of this film as well was very unique. It's aptly called the Process Trilogy. The review is fantastic, John, but one of the things that I picked up from Gianni's review was that it's the old saying of all film is subjective. In this case, it very much is that. Experience that Gianni gets from this review is a very unique experience of really deciding on all these different sort of versions have been created, and the viewer has to pick their choice on how the film goes for them. Could be on the slightest things like how the film's lighting is and stuff like that. Very unique details, but I thought the actual review was very interesting. It's very interesting to read that. It really just depends on your choices on what you get out of this film and your experience of this film. So this is as much as the film, the Process Trilogy is very unique, this actual movie review is very unique as well. Yeah,
Stephen, I have to say I read through this movie review and I get a great deal of enjoyment reading through it, just from the history lesson that Gianni gives us, talking about a trip to the moon way back in 1902 and how that cemented the future of film and authors and creators, and how they could reinvent the craft time and again, and that was really a very important film back in those times. He gives a fantastic sort of a look into the history of film and how it's always looking to reinvent itself with different sort of techniques. We've seen this similar concept done with a slightly bigger budget, might add on the likes of Netflix with I believe it's Black Mirror Bandersnatch, I think it was called. It was the interactive one where you could pick the breakfast cereal they were eating and stuff like that, and it could really change the flow of the film, change the ending, and give you multiple sort of directions for character development. I've actually not been involved in that, but we do recall speaking to Kevin, Stephen, about that. He watched it and it says it was a very interesting experience. It seems like this is perhaps a lower budget version of this, where I think you go through a questionnaire at the beginning before you obviously consume the film. And depending on how your answers are and stuff like that, then they maybe change up some scenes or just the experience of the film, maybe the order it's consumed, to give you a unique, tailored experience. Well, as unique and tailored an experience as you could get for this sort of a process, the trilogy. Stephen, I have to say, it sounds very interesting to me. It sounds intriguing. I liked what he says about it being essentially 3 acts, 3 different sort of a short 8-minute little video clips, or obviously acts, funnily enough, that's what I said, acts, and just the fact that they're utilising sort of a cards with information on it to tell you the story. I think he says there was one with a clown, and then you've got maybe brushing his teeth or something.
Banana, I think.
Eating a banana, and then there was a teeth brushing scene, and it just seems very surreal. It almost, you know what it reminded me of, Stephen, reading it, the sort of imagining and envisioning this film in my mind. It reminded me of John Lennon and Paul McCartney back in the 1960s, what they were doing with music, trying to stretch the boundaries of music with all of that sort of surreal avant-garde music stuff. This is what it's like. It just shows you that despite even over 100 years now having passed, you've still got these people out there who are really passionate about the art of filmmaking and whatnot, and they will push the boundaries and try and find new ways to thrill audience members and shock them and just try. Obviously, it's like essentially avant-garde, as I did say, Stephen. It's the filmmaking equivalent to that.
Yeah.
They're using neat little tricks with small budgets. And look, I tip my hat to them because I'd love to be able to be talented enough to make a film of any kind. Sadly, I'm not. Oh, I'd say I'm not. I've not tried it.
I think there's a lot more to the filming process as well, John, in this case, you know, where you've got to film all these different outcomes and scenarios as well.
And Jenny actually does say that. He mentions the stories that we've been indulged in with the likes of Netflix. He says it's modest and the algorithm doesn't quite adjust as drastically. But Stephen, I'm not going to read the review out word for word. If you're watching this and you're intrigued, read the review because it really is worth your time going through it. It'll only take 5 minutes and it's a fantastic read. The guy knows how to write. So you
get that on movieburnerentertainment.org. But
exactly.
One of the things that another thing that it reminded me of, John, was in a different art form. It was of a video game back in 1992 called Night Trap. I think it was called. It was on one of the Sega platforms, Sega CD or something like that. And it was one of the very first interactive games where it was real video and you had your choices to make.
I'd call you giving me an X-Files game as well, which was similar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was much later on. That was more the late 90s, but this was one of the very early stages as well. I don't really want to go off on a tangent, but that's what it kind of reminded me of in its earliest form. Is this a way forward for film? You know, I don't know. I think
certainly a niche sort of
I was going to say it is very niche. You know, I don't know if everyone would take to it. Certainly it doesn't work cinematically. It just wouldn't work with, you know, multiple you know, an audiences. It's an individual's experience, so it certainly would work in that.
It's something that's definitely tailored to a digital streaming platform, Stephen, that experience where you've got a small enough group where they can sort of talk to each other and come to a conclusion which direction they want to pick, what sort of option they want to pick from the various options they're given. You're right, it wouldn't work in a theatre setting where you've got maybe 300 people, maybe more, 1,000 people, and 2,000 or whatever, and you've got 3/4 shouting for one thing and 1/4 shouting for the other, and then it flips. It wouldn't work. But Stephen, I find it very intriguing. I enjoyed the review, just the thought of this existentialism sort of a questions getting pondered to the viewer through 3 short little acts. He does say that it feels like it's not quite giving you enough, or it wasn't giving him enough. That was his personal opinion. I may be different if I was to watch it. But it just felt like he was wanting, or he was left wanting more after each 8-minute sequence. I think I do recall reading it. It was 3 8-minute sequences.
I would take that as a compliment to the filmmakers.
Yeah, well, I was actually reading a fantastic article, Stephen, the differences between TV shows in the United States and the United Kingdom. How they tend to do 20 odd episodes, and it's longer form. Tell them with creative teams. Whereas in the United Kingdom, we have remained faithful to the 6-episode, short and succinct, and just how that allows a writer to be more concise in their thinking and how they write things, and they can get things maybe finished up in a clear manner, in a concise manner. Whereas over in the United States, they do tend to go off in tangents and just drag it out just for monetary gain. So it could be a similar thing here. It could be a similar thing here, Stephen. Yeah, but that's a perfect example, Stephen.
Yeah.
The story was summed up beautifully in the British version in 3 seasons, and we've went off and just dragged it out, and it became a laborious experience as a result. But maybe a similar thing here, Stephen. Different strokes for different folks. You may be left wanting. Some people, other people may consume it and think that's concisely sort of surmised at the end of each short little thing. But look, I don't know. I've not seen it. I can't really speak from personal opinion. But I find it very intriguing. It's always something I've been interested in, even going back, as you did say, to video games, Stephen, the interactive experience, being able to change worlds and craft it to your sort of a unique vision.
Having that control.
The likes of Mass Effect and stuff like that. I've really enjoyed that interactive experience. So I'd like to see this become more and more of a thing in sort of a streaming platforms. Certainly not. It's not going to work.
I think that's the best platform to take that sort of genre, John. But listen, that just rounds up this week's edition of the Blog Rundown. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us, and we will be back again tomorrow with the Force Friday show.